Hey, awesomes, I'm back. All right, so we're in week 8, and we've got to move forward, get this project 3A started, start thinking about it this week, and then have it turned in by Sunday. So this video will concentrate, focus on project 3A, the collaborative research proposal. All right, so I've added um, as I said in the last video, I did keep the project 3A assignment sheet here. So we're going to kind of look over it, and then we're going to look at a sample. So most of you have sent to me already a good idea as to what your topic is. And so your collaborative research proposal provides us an opportunity to articulate that problem, think about the patterns of inquiry. And in this case, we want to really focus on primary and secondary research, as mentioned. Talk about your strengths and weaknesses within your group, right? Who's going to do what in a way. And then formally plan your project's life cycle. And we'll take a look at an example for that. And so let's scroll down. And this gives us an overview. So we've got this nice, these bullet points here, and we'll show how they correspond to, kind of in a minute, the sample that we'll look at that I've just linked to this week's page. So proposing a research report is a problem-solving activity. The research proposal is not meant to propose a final answer, okay? So in the proposal here, we're going to kind of lay out, here's this main issue that we have discovered. Here's how we understand the issue. And then we're going to target something very, very specific within that we are going to try to get to making a recommendation. And we want to focus on a particular organization. We want to focus on a particular, the problem, and then a specific audience. So we have audience and purpose are very, very key with this. Problems affecting Detroit or Wayne State, right, which you guys have already addressed. So we're kind of really in the, I guess we might say this stage up here. The research proposal is a useful genre for your team, intended to help you form as a team, learn how to discover and analyze projects as problems, right? Articulate various research and writing strategies, and establish standards for your work, all right, which you guys will negotiate together. Following, I've got a very, very nice, kind of eliminate how you think it's supposed to look and feel, right? So rather you really spend the next 3 weeks or so really concentrating on what goes in each one of these sections. You know, your methods and methods, right? Introducing us to the problem, your methods, okay? So let's look at that real quick here. So you're going to have an introduction section, right? So you have the draft of a problem statement here. When I think about being reader-centered, we want to really think about ushering people into the core, really kind of go from general to very specific, right? In your introduction, you guys say, okay, here is like this in this big, huge thing is this, here's our overall topic, but we're really going to hone it down. So I can do this, boop, into something very, very specific. And so I give you some guidelines here. So the introduction not only contains an articulation of it, but a purpose and an audience statement. Who are you targeting, right? And what is your purpose? You're going to recommend. What is the purpose of your recommendation? You hope to improve X, Y, and Z. And I need to know specifically who your audience is. So if let's say, for example, if you were doing food insecurity or something to do with food, then a natural, perhaps, or one natural audience would be the food bank, right? Or the food pantry, excuse me. You guys call it the food pantry here. The food pantry here at Wayne State. So that would be their audience. You would be making a recommendation to the food pantry on what they could possibly do to help, not necessarily solve per se, but improve, right, food insecurity for students. Lastly, in the introduction contains, if appropriate, background on the problem, discussion of your key sources of information, scope and organization of the remaining proposal, like a foreshadowing, if you will, any keywords or technical terms, and then you go right into the plan of work. All right, this is kind of the meat and potatoes here, right? So you're going to offer a description of how you will gather and analyze research. You're going to give me some preliminary, maybe research results findings, because you've got to do something to kind of get an idea of how you've gotten to this point, right? Why you're researching this kind of in a way. And then here's the justification for why you're engaging in forms of inquiry. You hopefully do some site work, you can do some interview work, some data analysis, right? You'll do some word work through concepts of maybe technical terms that they're using or whatever. And then of course you'll have your secondary research. And then how this leads to some understanding of how this leads to primary, secondary research course methods to help you inform your methods section, which will be from chapter 5. Describe your relevant skills and past work. Budget, if there is any, for the life cycle, for collaborating. We'll look at kind of budgets don't necessarily, in this case, always come into play. All right, so we've kind of got a brief overview of those sections. Let's look real quick at the example. So this is here on the page for you. This is an A- paper, just to kind of give you some sort of idea where it is, where it lands on the scale. So this is kind of almost ripped directly as far as if you want to think about the formatting of it. The genre of the research proposal memos right out of Markel, I believe it's chapter 11, and which we'll talk a little bit more about in another video. But this gives you an idea of what it's going to look like, right? So you have a date, it'll be to me, and it'll be from, and then you'll have your name, and then give me, in a professional kind of setting, if you will, your major, your field, where you're going, and then obviously your subject will be research proposal, and then whatever your topic is following, okay? So your introduction. Here's some background information about that, right? And you can see notice the quoting, right? There's obviously some, there's definitely, whoops, sorry about that. There's definitely, you see the in-text citations here, right? This particular group has done a really good job of bringing in some secondary research, because that's about all that you kind of will have for this particular part of it. And then your plan of work. And you'll notice that this particular group really did a faithful job of really kind of taking to heart a lot of what Markel said or says in chapter 11 about using tasks, being very task specific in your plan of work. So here's their plan of work and their proposal. First thing, perform background research, right? We're going to find this out. We're going to gather demographics. We're going to do research actions compared to other cities. 4, analyze our data and prepare a recommendation report, right? And then the research is going to be, here's some of their questions, and then here's their primary research right in here, okay? And probably if you're sitting there, and I'm sure the first question, everybody says, why is this an A-? All right. A lot of that has to do with, I think, we're just employing a lot of the technical communication things that we've learned. So you've got this task here, right? And I like the way that they have set it aside in using the bold italics. And I think that their task, although it's analyze the data, this here is like data research. This is research gathering, right? Data gathering. This is like pre-analysis, right? But they're giving us some things. So I think there either needs to be some subheadings, or those need to be in a different section. I think research itself probably could have been its own task, if you will. All right. But I like the fact, I do like the fact that this group did include, here are the primary research questions, right? So we've got a really good idea of what's happening. And now you get the life cycle, right? So your dates would obviously be different, but you can do something similar to this, right? Okay, here's the phase, is a preparation phase. Here are the specific tasks, and here's some completion dates. And you want to think about those completion dates, because we got to really think about, we're almost done in this class, right? It's crunch time for us, right? We're at week 8. It's only 12 weeks in this semester. So so we've got to be thinking about those type of things. I can't get okay, let's try this. Oop. And I will scroll down. So that's, so they list, let's look at that real quick. Here's each student, qualifications and experience right here. It's pretty self-explanatory there, right? What would go in that section. And of course, a references page. Boom. Okay, so here's all their references. All right, so that's kind of it's a brief overview of Project 3A, if you will. I do want to talk more about, we'll talk a little bit more about Chapter 5. And then, of course, I probably should have added Chapter 11 in there. I wish hang on one second. Okay. I just want to make sure I give you the right chapter because it may have accidentally been on next week's. Yeah, Chapter 11. So Chapter 11 out of our textbook, Practical Strategies, you'll see a lot of similarities with what we just looked over, the sample and how they laid everything out. Yeah, starting on page 309, right, is a good sample of how that, the date to, from, right, introduction, and then we just used our verbiage, our nomenclature, if you will, for the specific sections from that sample, from the Project 3A research proposal sample. So if you want to use that as a template, you are totally fine to do so. And I would encourage you also then to think about your being a little bit more specific and delineating primary and secondary research as part of your tasks. All right, guys. All right. So I think that does it for now. Good project, just like a Project 3A, if you will, overview. Looking at that sample. So begin looking at that and really make sure that you are setting up your either a Google Doc or some kind of shared space that you and your fellow team members are starting to collaborate and start putting that baby together, because we got to have that in by Sunday, and then I got to get that back to you, and then we start really getting to the nitty gritty. All right, folks. Have an awesome week. I'm sure I'll be back with you because I want to talk a little bit more about Markel. I want to talk a little bit more about primary research with you. So I'll be back. Hopefully, I'll try to get that done later today, if not first thing in the morning. So take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.